Good morning, it's 9:30 and I'd like to call the August 29th County Council meeting to order. First item of business is the approval of the agenda. The items, Leah has listed a number that must be open for discussion. Starting with 2.1, approval of the agenda, bylaws, number 6.1 and 6.2. We've got, I'd like to add 7.5. 7.7 needs attention. 8.2, which is calendars. And then all the items under number 12, with the exception of 12.8, which is delete 12.8. Are there other items to add? Seeing none. Councilor Mins?
It's 7.2 and 7.4.
7.2 and 7.4. Okay. 7.2 and 7.4. Others?
Do the motion to.
Okay, let's go through the list and then the items that are on the table for discussion, with the other ones being adopted through the consent agenda. Item number 2.1, 6.1, 6.2, 7.2, 7.4, 7.5, 7.7, 8.2, and 12.1 through 12.7, with delete 12.8. Councillor Mins has made a motion to adopt the agenda as amended and to adopt the motions as recorded for those items not selected for debate. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion is adopted 8-0. Item number 6.1 is a recommendation from administration to give first reading to bylaw 016-2024. Is someone willing to move? Recommend a motion. Councillor Kapitanek has moved that council give first reading to 016-2024, a land use bylaw amendment for lot 4, block 1, plan 1123795 within the Northeast 1971-16 west of the 4th, from agriculture district to campground commercial district, that's C5, and further to direct admin to schedule and advertise a public hearing on September 26th at 9:30 a.m. for bylaw 016-2024. Is there any discussion on that motion? If you're ready for the question is on the adoption of the motion as read. All those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. Item number 6.2 is to recommendation from administration to give 3 readings to bylaw 021-2024, a bylaw titled Schedule of Fees. Is there someone willing to move the recommended or willing to move first reading? Councillor Mins has moved first reading of 021-2024. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, if you're ready for the question is on the adoption of first reading of bylaw 021-2024. All those in favor? Opposed? Count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. Is someone willing to move second reading? Councillor Chamzik has moved second reading of bylaw 021-2024. Is there any discussion? Seeing none on the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. Is anyone willing to move for unanimous consent to do 3 readings? Councillor Holland. Councillor Holland would like to propose that there's unanimous consent to move 3 readings. On the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? Okay, that motion is lost. We are now moving on to item number 7.2 on page 60 of your agenda. Sorry, the count on that one was 7 and 1. And the motion is lost. 7.2 is a signage change request. Councillor Mins, you asked for this to be on the agenda. Would you like to make a motion?
Motion to direct administration to change current east and westbound yield signs located at Township 632 and Range Road 241 to stop signs.
Councillor Mins has made a motion to direct administration to change the current east and westbound yield signs located at the intersection of Township 632 and Range Road 241 to stop signs. Is there any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, if you're ready for the question is on the adoption of the motion to direct administration to change the current east and westbound yield signs located at the intersection of Township 632 and Range Road 241 to stop signs. All those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8 and 0, and that motion is adopted. 7.4 is a letter of support from the town of Athabasca. Councillor Mins, who asked to speak to this, do you have a motion you'd like to make? That's on page 66. It's where paper is superior. With your microphone, please.
I'll do the recommended motion.
And then you want to discuss it after?
Yeah,
So Councillor Mins has moved that Athabasca County Council authorize a letter of support to the town of Athabasca for their application to the Alberta Community Partnership or the ACP grant. Councillor Mins, do you want to open the discussion?
I guess a couple, mainly one question is it's for housing and that, so is it do we know what it's for? Like what do they want? Do they want to know? Is it gonna be discussed there or the whatever it is it a housing location? Is it what kind of houses to build? What?
I'm going to direct the question to the CAO. The letter from the town does say it's for housing needs assessment. But perhaps the CAO can provide us some.
Mr. Chairman, I believe those terms of reference still have to be developed and worked with them, but I understand it was going to be a regional housing needs assessment, so it would involve all the partners that lend their support. So, in discussion with their CAO, they're still working on the terms of reference.
Okay, thank you very much.
Is there further discussion on the motion? Seeing none, if you're ready for the question. Question is on the adoption of the motion to authorize a letter of support to the town of Athabasca, their application to the Alberta Community Partnership ACP grant. All those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8 and 0, and the motion is adopted. As a reminder, when you vote, get your elbows off the table so I can see your hand is in the air, please. Uh, 7.5. We have the right people in the room. 7.5 is the financial variance report. Is there anyone willing to move the recommended motion? I added it because I assumed we would want to discuss it. Councillor Holland has moved to receive the August 2024 financial variance report for information. Is there discussion on that motion? Councillor Holland, do you want to lead? So on the variance report, I have a couple of questions and I'll lead with those and maybe that will spur others. On page 71 of the agenda and the first page of the variance report, can you just help us out with the cap levy still reporting is 0? We've been through a couple of quarters where that's been in place. Should there not be some revenue associated with that at this point?
Mr. Chair, members of council, I'll have to follow up with the finance manager on that question. If you can give me a few minutes, perhaps you can come in and answer that question.
Okay, we can park that one and on page 75 of the report, the variance report for the agricultural services, and while I recognize the report is a work in progress, For me, things being significantly over budget are obviously a concern, and items being significantly under budget also makes me wonder, are we behind on our program delivery? Are we behind on council has allocated money for program spending, and we're a significant way through the year and sort of a slightly more than a quarter of the way through the
Mr. Chair, can you give me an example of which ones you're
So,
referring to?
well, looking just at the total, we budgeted $953,000 for the program delivery and the ag services, and we're so far year to date spent 260.
Through the chair to all of the council. Yes, so there is a large portion of the program that has just gone out to be paying to different programming things. A large portion of our program gets covered in the third quarter as we're paying out staff and everything else for the mowing programs, for the different situations with Alice. And we don't pay until September for some of our programs like Grow. And our payment to Alice, I believe, is also comes out in September. So our large portion of our billing happens in the third quarter for ag.
So you feel confident administration's on track with delivering what we expected to deliver during the budget deliberations?
Absolutely, yes. And also to that point, the entire infrastructure department is meeting with the finance manager on Tuesday to go through some of the billing codes to make sure that they match up with what we actually should be putting them to.
I
So
suspected that was
yeah, some of the labeling needs some work, we think, so.
and I think everyone here recognizes the significant improvements over time, and that it just keeps getting better and more clear, and that stuff gets tightened up. I wanted to check with the CAO because we've withdrawn from the ARED program. There seems to me, when I view the budget, a significant room to engage in alternate strategies to pursue economic development. Is that something you expect to put before council in a future meeting?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, and I believe that was adopted as under the consent agenda for a motion
Just
to
today.
allow us to redirect. So yeah, we'll bring back some discussion for council on what those priorities are.
Thank you. The other two that I had, I guess, relative to the fire protection budget on page 88 and 89 of the agenda, we're slightly better than halfway through the year, I think 66% of the way through the year. And we're slightly under halfway through the spend, or the budgeted spending in that category, but there is no adjustments, of course, for reserves or depreciation, which we know, you do it singularly later. But when I do that math in my head, I worry that we're going to be, once those are accounted for, we're on track to be significantly over budget. Or is there something about, is that spending significantly non-linear that we should be confident will be within the budgeted amounts by year end?
Mr. Chair, after having some conversations with the fire chief, I don't think they will be over. The fire chief was having, because our budget wasn't broken down as much as it should be per account. So it kind of doesn't give a clear picture as to how much budget you have for each division and for each expense. So we're working actually. The fire chief did actually spend a whole week breaking everything down per division, per department, and per expense, and we're actually implementing that right now, and which should give us a better picture of how much he has to spend on certain expenses. So because of not knowing exactly how much we have, which kind of limits how much we can spend. So that's currently what we're working on, and but by the looks of it, I don't think he will be over budget, no.
Okay. And then a similar question relates to page 93 of our agenda, the protective services the variance on salaries and wages. Well, maybe sorry. No, I had my lines crossed. Are there other questions? We had one at the very beginning about the cap levy and why there's no revenue showing yet at this point in time.
Mr. Chair, I believe that's sitting in other revenue right now, and we just have to reclass it out of there. We have been collecting the cap levy.
Okay, so council will be able to see that for the next update.
That's correct.
Thank you. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I had a question on page 72 of the agenda package, code 2232 audit fees is over budget by $12,555. Could you explain why the audit fees are higher
Yeah.
than what we had budgeted?
Through the chair, this is mainly because last year we had some, well, we needed help, extra help with the auditors, because of, the previous director left and, we were left in a bit of an, well, when I joined, there wasn't much information given, so there was an information gap basically. So auditors had to put some extra time in to help us out, and then there were also the ARO, the asset retirement obligation that came into effect in 2023, that they had to put in extra time, and 10,000 out of that overage is specifically just for ARO.
What remains yours?
So just to confirm, the auditor submitted a scope change for that extra amount?
Yes, that's
Thank
correct.
you.
Other questions? Seeing none, the question or the motion on the floor is to receive the August 2024 financial variance report for information. If you're ready for the question on the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8-0, and the motion is adopted. Thank you for that report.
Yeah, you're welcome.
7.7 requires some decisions from council. Councillor Holland.
Thank you. I'd like to put the recommended motion in play by adding the council appoint Rob Mins, Councillor Mins of council to the pardon me, let me type that again. The council appoint Councillor Rob Mins to the Island Lake Waterline Advisory Committee.
Councillor Holland has moved that council appoint Councillor Mins to the Island Lake Waterline Advisory Committee. Any discussion? Councillor Anderson.
I'd like to amend the motion to appoint Councillor Mins and Reeve Collins. I think there's a lot of the mayors or Reeves that also sit on that committee or will be, so I think both members would be great.
Okay, so there's an amendment proposed to add Reeve Hall in addition to Councillor Mins. Discussion. See, Councillor Mins.
Yeah. Can't remember through the study there at our last meeting if they wanted 2 people or 1 person. Was there a 0.8 member? So this study is just to, or I mean, this water line, it's just to have a contact of what's happening with the water line, and then that person comes back to the municipalities for a discussion of that. So either way, it's whatever, but it's asking for 1 member, a member to the committee. So that's the only thing I'm thinking about. Do we start throwing or I guess that's all I got to say. It's asking for 1 member, but whichever, if Reeve Hall wants to come on there.
As part of the discussion, I would say, given that the county is the lead on this one and the single biggest contributor, I don't think there's any harm in having 2 voices at the table or 2 sets of ears, but. Further discussion? So, seeing none, we'll review the motions in reverse order. So on the question of the adoption of the amendment to add and Reeve Hall, all those in favor? Opposed? The motion, the amendment is adopted. And the count is 6-2. And on the question of the adoption of the main motion, is there any further discussion? The main motion is that council appoint councillors Minns and Hall to the Island Lake Waterline Advisory Committee. All those in favor? Opposed? The count is 7-1 and the motion is adopted. Next item of business on your agenda is item 8.2, calendars. You have in front of you the calendar for September and October. Is there any additions or other changes? I'll point out, just for your reference, there's a proposed tri-council meeting on the 17th of October. Councillor Minns, anything to add?
I guess September 11th to the 13th, there's a CARES conference in Bonnyville. Through Waste Management. I'll be attending that, and then from the 18th and 19th, there's a Athabasca Watershed Council in conjunction with ALMS, Alberta Lake Management Stewardship Society is having a conference in Hinton, and I've put my name in there for that one too.
Okay, so we've got a CARES conference, the 11th through the 14th, and the Watershed Council and ALMS, the 18th and 19th of September.
Right, and then there's another one from the 24th to the 26th. In the Duke is the Alice conference there, and
Alice,
might-
24th through the 26th.
yeah, I might run down there on the 25th. There's I'm gonna talk to Lisa. There's the administrator there, coordinator for Alice. There's a tour of Leduc and I think it's Leduc and Patasko, Alice projects and that. And I think it'd be kind of nice to go and see what other Alice committees do, for maybe it'll bring some good ideas to ours. So might run down there for that.
Okay. Councillor Holland.
Thank you. I'm just waiting on a few tentative dates, so I won't pass those on until they're confirmed. However, is it possible to move the September 24th MPC to September 26th?
I think that's something we should let the chair work through personally, but if the chair and the administration feel that that's reasonable, then Ms. Blair, are you able to message Director of Planning and Development and see what they think is coming, and see if she could provide us an opinion on the reasonableness of moving MPC? And Councillor Holland, you okay with waiting for that information? Councillor Chamzik.
FCSS on, sorry, not FCSS, County Library on September 9th. On the 17th, Boyle Library, the 19th, Town Library. And in October, FCSS on the 14th, and the Village on the 22nd, Town on the 24th, and the 30th would be ASB. Oh, sorry. Where do you got? Where do you have from? Okay, County Library on September 9th. On the 17th, Boyle. 19th, Town. And in October, FCSS on the 14th, Village on the 22nd, Town on the 24th, and ASB on the 30th. Oh, and I'm sorry, and also on the 11th of October, a Northern Lights executive meeting.
If I may, the 14th of October, I believe, is Thanksgiving.
Oh, well, then I guess FCSS will change. I didn't realize that was Thanksgiving.
You post a
Right.
meeting on a Monday,
I will confirm and get back
What's
to
that?
Leah. Does that work?
staff will be opposed at least. Council Wallach. Nothing. Councillor Anderson. Councillor Capitani. Should you have seen? No. Councillor Gerlich.
Oh, it's really nice, and especially at best. The medium and the very.
Blue Heron in the afternoon. Okay, it is. It's on the calendar. We're on item 8.2. Does it say 8.2 on your page, Joe? Okay, you're on the wrong page.
Okay, yeah, but MCSS and yeah, the Blue Heron.
Any other things, Councillor Gerlich? Councillor Gerlich has added Blue Heron on the 9th of September. Councillor Anderson, you had a follow-up.
And with regards to the tri-council meeting, if October 17th works for everybody, haven't heard any complaints about that date going around the table. Has administration proposed the location for that meeting?
I'm not aware of one. Administration, CAO, do you have an idea you'd like to propose?
Mr. Chairman, no, we haven't begun work on that. We'll figure it out.
I'd like to point out there's a new roof on one of the halls in Rochester. Oh,
Just as follow-up. Could we please select a location with either cell phone reception or Wi-Fi? That's my only request. Any of our beautiful halls will work as long as wherever we choose has one or the other, please.
it's pretty critical because when we're away at night with kids and families. Is there any further items, follow-up second round on calendars? We have council again on the 10th. I think, Councillor Holland, are you okay to leave the decision on MPC till the 10th of September? Sure. That way, I think the administrative team will have an idea what it looks like is in the pipeline. Okay, is there, Councillor Gerlich, are you willing to move the adoption of the calendars as amended?
This is the real problem. Not the one.
Yeah, not. Councillor Gerlich has moved the adoption of the calendars as amended. All those in favor? Opposed? Count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. We're at item number 12. Is there a motion to enter closed session? Councillor Chamzik has made a motion to move into closed session. All those in favor? Opposed? Count is 8-0 and we will enter closed session. Okay. We have Councillor Capitanic made a motion to exit closed session at 6 minutes past 12, and the motion was adopted 8-0. We are at item 12.1. There is a motion coming out of closed. Councillor Minns has indicated an intent to move that council receive the report for information. Is that correct, Councillor Minns? Yes. And is there any further discussion on that item? Seeing none, on the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? And opposed? The motion is adopted 8-0. Regarding item 12.2, Councillor Holland has indicated an intent to make a motion to direct administration to respond to the request as discussed under this closed session item. Is that correct? She's nodding. On the question, is there any further discussion? On the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. Regarding item 12.3, two motions are coming out of closed. Councillor Anderson has indicated a motion that council adopt the Boyle Intermunicipal Committee terms of reference. That's correct. Any further discussion on that item? Seeing none on the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. The second motion Councillor Anderson would like to make is that council agree to enter into the Boyle Recreation Agreement as presented. Councillor Kapitanek has indicated that she would like to amend the motion to delete the words soccer field from Appendix A. Someone had to.
That was the original motion.
Okay. Can we record? Sorry, did I confuse this? You want to make the amendment and you want to make? Well, if we do it,
We didn't.
we're doing it as an amendment, so we don't have to split. Okay. So the motion that I had written down was,
Councillor Anderson, I understood, made the full motion with the with to take out soccer fields, and I would like to have soccer fields split from.
right, we talked at the discussion we talked about was to do it through the amendment process, so we don't end up in a situation where we pass half of it. That doesn't make
Yes,
sense.
but you're making it sound like I want the soccer fields out.
That's fair. Okay. Would you be prepared to move the original motion and you make the amendment?
That would be.
Okay.
Thank you.
Then I'll amend the notes. Are we all on the same page? Councillor Kapitanek has made a motion that council agree to enter into the Boyle Recreation Agreement. Councillor Anderson would like to makes an amendment to the motion to delete the words soccer field from Appendix A. Further discussion on that? Seeing none on the question of the adoption of the amendment to delete the word soccer field from Appendix A, all those in favor? Opposed? Councillor Mins? Okay, so the amendment fails on a tie. The main motion then is council enter the agreement for the Boyle, enter into the Boyle Recreation Agreement. Any further discussion? On the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Count is 8-0 and that motion is adopted. That's 12.3. 12.4. 12.4. 12.4 is, I didn't write down who was prepared to this, Councillor Wallach. To direct administration to modify clauses 5 and 6 of the agreement and refer back to council. So Councillor Wallach has moved that council direct administration to modify clauses 5 and 6 and refer this back to council. Any discussion? Seeing none on the question of the adoption of the motion, all those in favor? And opposed? The count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. 12.5. Ms. Blair, did you have a motion number for me? (24-325). So regarding who's moving that? Councillor Gerlich? Councillor Gerlich has moved that County Council reconsider motion CC 24-325. All those in favor? Opposed? The count is 7-1 and the 2/3 majority has been achieved, so the reconsideration is successful. Who was moving the next motion on that? Councillor, no. You were? Okay. Sorry, I didn't make a very clear note. Councillor Gerlich has made a motion that council authorize administration to take the necessary steps to place the properties identified in Rochester for sale by public tender or by similar open and competitive process. That's it. He's nodding. Any further discussion on that motion? On the question of the adoption of the motion, all those in favor? Opposed? The count is 8-0 and that motion is adopted. We are at number 12.6. Councillor Chamzik has indicated that she would like to move that council respond with no objection to the proposed foreign acquisition of lands identified in the county and that we identify any access or traffic as part of any future development applications for lands. Any further discussion? On the question, Councillor Holland? No? Question, a little bit. Question the adoption of that motion. All those in favor? And opposed. Count is 8-0. That motion is adopted. There's, I think, is 12.7. Councillor Anderson, would you move that we just accept that as information?
Should we refer to the next council meeting for further discussion?
Sure. Councillor Anderson has moved that we table item 12.7 to the next council meeting for further discussion. On the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor? And opposed? The count is 8-0 and the motion is adopted. You'll notice I did not ask for discussion on that one, Joe, because we can't. This gets repetitive, I know, right? Okay, there is no further business on the agenda for the Athabasca 29th County Council meeting, so the one thing I can do is adjourn the meeting. And it is.